from them, what the aesthetic enjoyment, the beauty of nature?
Well, we'll repeat a little bit, but the most important is just to touch their heart and speak with images, because everybody cares about something else. But if we make them all realize that we're all in this together and it's our business to do it, and also just with zero waste, using less stuff makes you save more money, then that really speaks to people that they don't care about anything but maybe just themselves and their own little, very practical lives. And also baby steps, so not making them change their life overnight, because that's very overwhelming, but having like a list of very practical things you can do every day. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to share with you a few things that I set out to do in my community, and how I came to realize the importance of this fundamental thing, which is compassion, which literally means co-suffering, an interpersonal process which involves the noticing, feeling, acting, and sense-making that alleviate the suffering of another person. And I realized what this means through my experiments, which I'm going to be sharing with you now. So, the Taj Mahal, which is what we think of when we think of India, although there's a lot more to it. So I call these fantastic failures. Fantastic because this is why I'm here today, to share with you. So I have been staying in this city called Gurgaon, which is the suburbs of Delhi. And after I quit my corporate career, I started opening my eyes to what's happening around me. And in a conversation with a neighbor, we said, okay, what do you think about starting a waste segregation drive? I said, yeah, sure, we can do so much more. Let's start an eco club. Okay, great. So what do? The next thing we know is we create a WhatsApp group. We invite people join us. We set up a meeting, and I use all of my corporate stuff. Say, okay, come on, this is our project plan. This is our vision. This is our mission. This is what we want to do. These are the resources. And, we'll do a eco run. We'll do a pledge signing. And, we started all of that. And as I saw, after a couple of meetings, the attendance in the meeting started dwindling. And I was like, what's going on? I thought, it was all fine. And I realized that there were people in the community whom I did not know too well, who used to be the power people, and who did not like the fact that there were some other people who were taking the leadership, and all of those things started emerging. And slowly, I started getting my first sense of burnout, that, oh my goodness, I can't do this alone, and I don't know how to deal with this person's ego. And this is not about the ego, this is about the mission and all of that. So that was interesting. And what so happened is I moved to another city. But the good thing was the Eco Club kept on thriving, and people found their own ways and means, and we now have a very successful waste segregation thing going on in that society. So it was fantastic in that sense, although I felt silly, but I started something which went on, and that was lovely. So my learning was that there is no one leader. And there never should be one, because this is not about leadership. It is really about this, which is a circle. It is about circle work. And in climate change initiatives, it is so important for every voice to come in and for people to find their own ways of doing things. My second project was the organic farmers market. So I moved to Mumbai. It's a brand new city for me. I've never been there, in an apartment complex which has very wealthy and influential people, including some Bollywood stars. And I realized that the way people were buying their grocery was from vans which used to come inside and used to give vegetables in plastic bags, much to my dismay. And I started looking for sources to find organic vegetables. And I realized that the source for organic vegetables is very far out in the city. And for me to source those vegetables would mean creating a lot of carbon footprint. And hence, I started to ask around, are there more people who would like to buy organic vegetables? And soon I found that there were over 100 households out of the 900 which are there in that residential complex, who are interested in buying organic vegetables. And they had, in fact, tried to set up an organic farmers market earlier, but that had not worked. So that was enough for me to find a way of, figuring out where to get somebody to set up an organic farmers market. And I didn't know anybody. So I spoke with people who, owned the society and, all the rules, introduced some vendors, and a lot of things happened. And before we knew it, an organic farmers market was set up. And people were very happy, and they would come and, line up, and they would talk, and it was a beautiful thing. Of course, people started then saying, oh, the vegetable does not look very nice. And then, well, they haven't weighed it properly. And then this and that, and then another vendor was introduced, and then the season changed. So it was summertime, and the vendor was allocated a space which was like directly below the sun. And when he started asking for a space which was shaded, there were questions on, oh, but you don't have a certificate. We need a certificate. And the organic farmers market stopped. So many months of hard work gone down the drain, which was very sad. Having said that, my learning was resilience is the name of the game. I gave up. I said, I cannot do this anymore. These people just don't get it. They just, whatever. And nobody came forward to say, okay, we will support you. We will do this. Everyone was supporting from a distance, but nobody really wanted to get into the whole discussion. So that was my second learning. The third project, the community fridge project. So in our complex, because, sorry, am I?
Just go hold the headphone.
Oh.
You lift the mic up a little.
Yeah. Maybe
Sorry.
Lift the mic, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So in our condominium, because there are so many people, there are lots of parties and lots of celebrations, and there's lots and lots of food. And I saw the amount of food being wasted day in and day out, and I said, okay, why don't we set up a community fridge, which can be placed right outside, and extra food can go in there, and there are so many homeless people, they can come and pick up the food. So we set up team, and a lot of people kept meeting for weeks, became months. We got approval from the government for using that public space to set up a fridge, and then slowly we started hearing things like, is the other mic? Okay, I don't know. So we started hearing things like, well, if you need to set it up, then it needs to have our name on it. And there is some money that will be involved. And then there will be this, and then there will be that. And then we started getting trolled by our fellow residents, saying that if you set up something like that outside of our apartment complex, it will encourage people who are into drugs to come and spend time around that fridge. And then it will make our neighborhood very unsafe. And it came to a point where I was really concerned about my own safety. And I decided to withdraw from the project and say, okay, no community fridge. Let's forget about it. So the community fridge never happened. And that was my learning, is establish trust first. Trust with the people who would be supporting to, take that forward. But, I just started with setting up a community fridge, which didn't really work too well. It was too bad. And then my famous change.org petition, which is for Amazon and a competitor in India, Flipkart, to stop using their plastic packaging, reduce it by over 50%. And it has over 100,000 signatures. And after a lot of follow-up and emails with the country leaders, nothing happened. And the good thing about this was that it got me into a lot of deep study about plastics and about climate change, and that is also one of the reasons why I'm here. So, my learning: do only what does not cause an inner conflict. I was very conflicted for this petition, primarily because I was being asked to do things and adopt strategies which did not sit well with me. So there were suggestions like tweet bombs which, it is just not something that is okay with me. So I realized that I am an activist, but perhaps I'm a different kind of an activist, and I need to just be okay with that, and that's what it is. A brief quotation from Albert Einstein. Very interesting. I only thought Joanna Macy wrote these kind of things, but I was shocked to read that it was by Albert Einstein, who said that a human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. I'll let you read the rest of it. The last line is the most key, which is, our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion, to embrace all living creatures and the whole nature in its beauty. So what's my conclusion? Was that the real issue of climate change is really that of frozen hearts and of isolation. And because people don't want to feel and they don't want to connect with other people, we find ourselves alone, and we find ourselves in situations which lead us to being in a state where we are. And I feel that when people choose to be activists, people like us, what we are doing is we are really being a bridge. And that image said so much to me, because I could feel that I was that bridge which was holding space for people to move from one end to the other end. And it takes a lot to be in that space. These are some of the bridges of change that I think we have, apart from Greta. Is this person, Afroz Shah, has been cleaning up beaches in Mumbai for many years. Lewis Pugh, we all know him, Lily's plastic pickup, and this man who's been collecting plastic on a floating bike. So these are people who've been trying to be the bridges to inspire others. Again, can't say what's the level of success, but certainly they've been able to inspire many people to do something. This is what really was the turning point for me. One of the most radical things we can do right now is to create context for people to have conversations. And I know one of you suggested that we create a space to allow that sharing. And I realized that that is so critical. So I tried to model what a compassion activation web might look like. It starts with first connecting with our hearts, and then try and find a way of connecting people with their hearts. Find a way of melting the hearts, maybe by showing movies or doing something, and then we change hearts. So it's really all about working with the hearts. I made some exciting discoveries, and there's a short film I'll be sharing with you. This is very interesting. I recently visited this fully organic Indian state of Sikkim. It's in the northeast of India. I wanted to find out what's so special, what makes this state, organic. How did they do it? And what I realized is that this state actually has compassion as a way of life. What that basically meant was the person with, who was the person who asked us to stay with them, they would get up in the morning, and the first thing they would do is they would cuddle the sheep and the dog. They would meditate, clean the house, and you can see that place is full of spiritual spots and beautiful nature. That image on the right is a wall of a sustainable school, the first school of its kind being built in Sikkim. And interestingly, when we were walking, I saw people plugging on the way. It wasn't a plugging drive. As people walk, they just clean up the space. So I asked, what's going on? Why are people just, randomly doing this? What inspires them? And they said that, we all own the state. And I said, so what about crimes? They said, nobody dare do anything because everybody knows everybody else. It's a small state, and I guess that helps. But it was so interesting to see along the way there was, community support. The way children would go to school was walking. So one child would get out of their house, they would stop by at another's house, they would pick up that child, and then they would walk forward and pick up a third child, and that's really how they would move. So having a space which is set up to live compassion is so wonderful. And I guess we all dream of that. However, the reason why I say it was a discovery was, obviously there are such spaces which are existing, we just don't know where they are and we don't know how to create a space. And that was the key experiment that I wanted to share, is the space that I ended up creating. In a space like Sikkim, something like the interbeing is thriving. So when we talk about compassion and awakening the hearts, and we talk about connecting the hearts, connecting more and more hearts, that's really the image of the interbeing that came up to me. But what did I do? I will just share with you the project. This is what really inspired me to start the project, which is called A Happiness Circle. A happiness circle. Somebody said, let's find out what is the thing that's most important for people. And this was inspired by my spiritual teacher, whose mission is to spread happiness. So one of the women in the Charter for Compassion, she came up to me and she said, why don't we do something for the elderly women in our community? I've seen so many of them, they're just, by themselves, they have no one to speak with. So what do we do? And we wanted to create a space like this, to invite them to come in and just listen to them. And we didn't want to tell them, we'll discuss about your problems or we'll discuss about climate change. We wanted them to come. So what really resonated with people was the idea of a happiness circle. So we said, come, to a happiness circle, and they came. And we started with a small group of 10, it became 18, and that circle went on really well, and we started a second circle. And I'll share with you a brief film which talks about what it really is. Sorry.
Do you sometimes feel that you have everything, but still something is missing? Do you feel on some days that life has no purpose? You meet people and you do your work, but you still feel that life is just dragging along. In January 2019, at the World Economic Forum at Davos, loneliness was an important subject of discussion.
Loneliness is in some ways a feeling. It's a subjective evaluation.
Chronic loneliness is a health concern across generations, with 40% of under 25-year-old people reporting that they feel lonely. There is a heavy economic cost to loneliness, as per the World Economic Forum. Urbanization and our lifestyles may be contributing to this growing epidemic, which has been resulting in an increase in healthcare expenditures and reduced lifespans. Enhancing social support and increasing opportunities for social interaction is known to not only address loneliness and lead to happiness, but is also known to enhance human longevity.
I had no friends. Actually, I had become lethargic.
I'm running a preschool. I was too busy with the school, my family, housework, my husband's health. So many problems were there. I didn't get time for myself. I never thought about myself.
The time, this time that I've been introduced to Happiness Circle was a very crucial one for me, because unfortunately I lost my husband 2 months back, and I am carrying my first child. My life before Happiness Circle, just before, like a couple of months before, was very, I've been going through trauma.
While all of us have been staying in the same society, we realized we did not know each other yet. We all had one thing in common. we did not have friends or know people of our age with whom we could spend time.
When this happiness circle started, Sharda approached me. We were walking in the lawn and then she approached. Then I went.
One day, talking to Namrata through the Charter for Compassion meeting that we had, the thought of getting something started in our community came up. In other age groups, there are things happening, but there's nothing happening for our senior members. And whenever I went down for a walk, I saw a lot of senior women sitting down and just sitting, looking lonely sometimes. So it was like, why don't we do something for them? It would be wonderful to get them all together and do some fun things. So that's how we started doing some legwork, made a WhatsApp group and circulated it, and that's how it got started.
Here, we realized that it's not that difficult to be happy. All you need to do is to share from your heart and value the things being shared with you. We meditate together. We're adopting a healthier lifestyle. We share our dreams with each other. We have fun together. We learn new things together. And last but not the least, we cook for others and eat together. So what is a happiness circle? A happiness circle is a community of women who come together to understand what happiness means and how to make it an integral part of their lives. A happiness circle provides a safe platform for women to open up, to share, and to learn together. How do we do this? We use what we call circle principles that include sharing one at a time, thus encouraging deep listening. We not only learned to listen to our hearts, but also started to listen to others with only one purpose, to empty the heart. Deep listening helped us a lot to relieve suffering and welcome transformation and healing.
It's a good way of aging actually, because if you understand how you can change yourself, it's great. So I'm happy that with this and with a lot of sessions that she's going through, I think right now we are on the same page about why we need to lead an organic lifestyle and those little changes that we need to do. So she's actually bringing about the change even in my father-in-law. Even if he doesn't agree, he doesn't have a choice right now because both of us agree to it. So all of us follow it.
It's not the cards that you get, it's how you play the cards you get. It's the way of playing. So how you cannot say, I didn't get this in life. You make the best what you have got.
Today, hundreds and thousands of women like us around the world are lonely. And being a part of such happiness circles can really help them. All you need to do is reach out and you'll realize that happiness is a way of life. If you would like to introduce a happiness circle in your community, write to us at circles@charterforcompassion.org.in and we will work with you to make happiness an integral part of your life.
So it's interesting how something as simple as an intention to alleviate suffering of women who were lonely has led me to come to a space where I feel that is perhaps the most fundamental way of bringing about shift in the thinking of people. We have shared films on healing forests. We have introduced veganism. We have introduced practices of yoga, naturopathy. Some of the women have started now leading oil-free, sugar-free lives. They have brought about changes in their families. They have started talking about saving water in the community. And interestingly, we never spoke about climate change. We only spoke about their happiness. And that has been so fundamentally awakening for me in this whole space where I was thinking I'm going to bring in this data and that model and that scientist and blah, blah. But These women are at home. They do not know anything. They have responsibilities. They are many times in the kitchen. They love food. They spend time with their grandchildren. But there are so many such people in the world who need to make a difference. And they will not be found getting educated about climate change. But what they will come to is to this kind of a circle. And that's really what I wanted to share with you. So we have women who are widowed, who have issues with walking, who are from a diverse cross-section. The second circle we've started are, some women who have special needs children. They have low self-esteem. It's a wonderful space to offer them, to help them bring community. And the space where you saw the video was shot, that was my home. We were meeting there for 6 months, every Thursday. We start with a gratitude exercise, like what we did today. And we end with a loving kindness meditation. These are some practices which we have inculcated, which the women are following, and I would suspect that is contributing to their rise in consciousness. I'm yet to prove that through my research. And we start with a reflective question. If not gratitude, it could be something else. There are some facilitation tips, but one thing I would like to share is that we don't keep it all business. We do have once a month potlucks, because the women love food and they love to cook. So they bring in their food and we all share and, have fun. So what has it led to? There are women who've started to learn the piano. Somebody signed up for swimming, and these are elderly women, more than 60 years of age. Some of them have actually started sharing with others their time, so they team up and go for movies together. One of them has initiated a meditation circle in her home, so apart from our meets, they meet additionally to meditate together. And it's really been doing wonders for their families too. So their daughter-in-laws and daughters come to us and say, they really look forward to that one day. And they talk about what they will be doing and what they will be discussing. Jean Shinoda Bolen, who's the author of The Millionth Circle, says that being in one circle leads to being in others. And that's really my invitation, is for all of us to please start a circle, wherever we are, of whoever you feel closest to. And you will know in your heart if that circle needs to be of teenagers, of mothers, of men, of girls, of whoever. But please start a circle. You can call it anything you'd like. What worked for us was a happiness circle. And that's a beautiful way of starting any transformation. I feel it's working. It's really bringing together hearts and creating that space for infinity to express itself. And that's what the interbeing is. So the model really is to have compassion, to establish connection, to create a community, and then to get into a collective correction. So this is not right for our community. Now let's make that shift and make it better. In Paul Hawkins' Drawdown, I do not see a community. And that's my invitation to Paul and to all of us, is to find a way of including that. Compassion practices really need to be up there. The world changes in direct proportion to the number of people willing to be honest about their lives. And we provide a space to do that, and how wonderful a world we can create. Well, this is a practice I'd like to leave you with. If all of us can please stand up. It's again something shared by my spiritual teacher. It's called the practice of Mayurema. Mayurema is essentially loving kindness. It's something we can do and send every day to people we love and in all directions. So we start by channeling the energy down, make a heart all the way down, come up, and create 3 infinities. A little bigger, and then a little bigger, and say, Mayurema. Mayurema. sending loving kindness wishes. And you can do that in all 4 directions, especially when you're worried about somebody, to give them blessings and to protect them. You can send Mayurima in all 4 directions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
That little film that explains, is that available to people to be able to share with others?
It's on YouTube. Yes, it's called Circle Work, Happiness Circles. You can find it in the Charter for Compassion India. There's a YouTube channel. You can find it there. If you want to take pictures of any slides, I could flip over to that slide and you could do that. So, the tips.
For example,
Yeah.